In the late summer of 1944, Allied forces were pushing hard through France. The German front was cracking, unit by unit, village by village. Retreat orders were common. Surrenders were expected. But General George S. Patton had learned one thing during his advance: not every enemy followed the script. Near a battered crossroads outside a small French town, U.S. armored units encountered an isolated German formation. Their vehicles were damaged. Their supply trucks burned along the road. The situation was clear. They were surrounded. American officers approached under a white flag, expecting a routine surrender. Instead, a German major stepped forward. His uniform was torn. His face was calm but defiant. He listened to the offer. Then he shook his head. "I will not surrender," he said. "My orders are to hold. I will hold." The American officers tried again. They explained the situation. No reinforcements were coming. Resistance would only bring destruction. The German major didn't raise his voice. He didn't reach for a weapon. He simply repeated himself, "I refuse." Word of the standoff moved quickly up the chain of command. Within minutes, it reached Patton's headquarters. He was already irritated. Fuel delays, resistance pockets, and commanders moving too slowly for his taste. When the message reached him, Patton didn't ask for a long report. He asked one question. "Is he armed?" "Yes, sir." "Has he been given the chance to surrender?" "Yes, sir. Twice." Patton paused, just long enough for the room to go quiet. Then he gave an order that stunned everyone listening. The order moved fast. Patton didn't shout. He didn't repeat himself. He simply said, "Then do your duty." Officers in the room understood exactly what that meant. Not rage, not revenge, procedure. A final surrender demand was issued. This time, louder, firmer, with witnesses present. An interpreter stepped forward and delivered the message clearly. "Lay down your weapon. Step away from your men. No one else needs to be hurt." The German major listened again. Smoke drifted behind him. His soldiers waited, silent, watching their commander's face. For a moment, it looked like he might reconsider. Then he reached for his sidearm. Not to fire, not to aim, just to make a point. That was enough. American soldiers moved instantly. Rifles came up. Commands were shouted. The situation shifted from negotiation to action in seconds. But even then, Patton's standing orders were followed to the letter. No unnecessary force, no chaos, only control. When it was over, the German soldiers, shaken, stunned, finally laid down their weapons. The major's refusal had ended not with a speech, but with consequences. Later that day, Patton was informed the resistance pocket was gone. He nodded once. "Good," he said. "Move on." For him, it wasn't personal. It was momentum. The aftermath spread quickly through the area. American units secured the crossroads and moved on, but the story of the German major traveled faster than the tanks. Soldiers repeated it in low voices, how close the moment had come, how thin the line was between order and disaster. For many, it was the first time they truly understood Patton's philosophy. He demanded speed. He demanded discipline. And above all, he demanded clarity. To Patton, hesitation in command was more dangerous than resistance. A refusal to surrender wasn't bravery, it was a delay. And delay, in a fast-moving war, cost lives far beyond one battlefield. That evening, Patton addressed his officers. No shouting, no theatrics, just a blunt reminder. "You give the enemy every chance to stop," he told them. "But once that chance is rejected, the situation decides for you." Some officers were uneasy. They had seen wars slow down, negotiate, circle endlessly. Patton would allow none of that. His approach was simple. Decisions must end uncertainty. The German major became an example, not because of who he was, but because of what he represented. A fixed point in a war that demanded movement. As night fell, the advance resumed. Engines rolled. Radios crackled. The front line shifted miles forward. Behind them, the crossroads faded into darkness. Ahead of them, the war waited. In the days that followed, Patton's advance barely slowed. Resistance pockets appeared and vanished just as quickly. Some German units surrendered the moment American armor came into view. Others hesitated, remembering stories, unsure what defiance would cost them. Patton knew those stories would spread, and he didn't stop them. To him, fear wasn't cruelty, it was clarity. Every hour saved meant fewer ambushes, fewer stalled convoys, fewer soldiers dying somewhere else because a decision hadn't been made in time. His orders were never reckless, but they were final. Behind the front lines, staff officers debated quietly. Some wondered if history would judge these moments harshly. Others argued that history would only remember the outcome. Patton didn't join the debate. He focused on maps, fuel lines, and speed. He pushed his commanders harder than ever, reminding them that the enemy's greatest weapon now wasn't firepower, it was delay. Reports continued to arrive, units surrendering without a fight, commanders choosing caution over pride. The lesson had been learned. Still, Patton understood something many didn't. Momentum cuts both ways. If his advance stalled even once, if hesitation crept into his own ranks, the balance could shift. The same decisiveness he demanded from others would soon be demanded of him, and somewhere ahead, another test was waiting. By now, Patton's reputation was racing ahead of his columns. Some German commanders surrendered early, convinced resistance was pointless. Others chose withdrawal over confrontation. Entire sections of the front collapsed without a major engagement, but speed created new problems. Fuel ran thin. Maps became outdated faster than they could be printed. Units advanced so far ahead that support struggled to keep up. Patton knew this was the danger zone, the point where momentum could turn into overreach. His staff warned him, quietly, carefully. "You're moving faster than the flank," one officer said. "The enemy may be pulling back on purpose." Patton listened. He always did. Then he pointed to the map. "If they're pulling back," he replied, "they're doing it under pressure, and pressure breaks plans." Still, doubts lingered. The German major's refusal had become a symbol on both sides. To the Americans, it was proof that decisiveness worked. To the enemy, it was a reminder that pride could be fatal. And pride, Patton knew, cuts both ways. Late one night, reports arrived of a sudden buildup ahead. Not a retreat, not scattered resistance. A line, fresh units, prepared positions. An enemy that wasn't running anymore. Patton studied the information in silence. The room waited. This time, there was no obvious answer, no simple order. The next decision would determine whether his momentum became legend or a warning. Dawn came without ceremony. Patton made his decision before most of the camp was fully awake. No speeches, no dramatic buildup. He adjusted the plan, tightened the lines, and ordered the advance to continue. This time with restraint, not hesitation. He had learned the lesson himself. Speed wins wars, but judgment ends them. The German line ahead tested him, but it did not stop him. Pressure was applied where it mattered, relief where it was needed. When resistance collapsed, surrender was accepted. When it didn't, the rules were clear and followed. Later, an officer asked him about the crossroads, about the German major who refused to surrender, about the order that spread through the ranks and beyond. Patton didn't glorify it. He didn't defend it. He said only this: "War isn't about what you say. It's about what happens when words fail." That was the difference. He gave chances. He honored procedure. But once the moment passed, the decision stood, because indecision killed more soldiers than resolve ever did. Years later, historians would argue about that moment, about whether it was harsh, necessary, or inevitable. Patton never joined that argument. To him, the war moved forward because it had to, and the order, spoken quietly, without anger, was never about one man refusing to surrender. It was about making sure the war ended sooner, not later.